Word Church of Nazarene was established in 1911. There was a guy by the name of W.E. DeBoard, and he hired an evangelist to come out. He sent out a letter to this evangelist, and this guy packed up his tent and came out. Probably took him about a week's worth of travel. That was before there were trains here in Woodward. Automobiles were around, but probably not in this area. So we're guessing he came by wagon, and probably took about a week's worth of travel to get here. But he came, set up a revival meetings in a tent, and 78 people came to know Christ as their Savior during those meetings. And so that was 1911, and he stayed for another year or so, just doing ministry and developing things in this area. And so that's kind of how our church got its start. It was a rough start. They talk about how in that time, the meals that they had, like their main meal every day, was biscuits mixed with hot water and sugar. And that's what they ate every day. And like the next pastor in line or next two pastors in line, something like that, they talk about their yearly salary being like $60 for an entire year. So kind of a hard start. Around 1915, 1916, things really kind of began to start growing here in the Nazarene Church in Woodward. And that's when the congregation really started doing a whole bunch of extra ministries and doing things, sending missional projects, that kind of stuff. So that's how we got our start. One of the pastors asked me, aren't you all the church that goes around and picks up a bunch of kids and teens that are really rough and have this rough background and don't have any other church influence in their lives, and it's you're just reaching out to those that don't know Christ at all? And I went, yeah, that's us. And so that's one of the things that we try to do in our community is reach out to those who don't know Christ and don't have any background for that. This is one of the buildings that you probably won't find another one like it in Woodward. It kind of has this round circle-like thing, octagon kind of thing, but it is, some people call it the circus tent church because it kind of looks like a tent, which might harken back to our 1911 beginnings when we were in a tent, a revival tent. And so I'm not sure if that's what they had in mind. I don't know if that was purposeful or not, but it is one of those buildings. I know that they had a committee who went to multiple different states around the United States to research how to build this thing, what they wanted it to look like, and they did a great job of it. It's a beautiful place and holding up very well. The church was started to bring people to Christ. That's the whole purpose of the thing is let's bring people to Christ and make a difference in the lives of individuals and in families. That's the whole reason for this to exist, is because of Christ. Sometime in the 80s is when it was at its largest. This building I think fits around 300 people in the sanctuary, and I think they were running maybe 300 to 350. And so I know they had like chairs set up out in the foyer and those kind of things. So I think in the 80s, sometime at around 300 to 350 people at that point. So plans going forward, our core values are we are Christian, we are holiness, and we are missional. So plans going forward is to continue those core values. One, we're going to be Christian. We're going to disciple people on how to come to Christ and how to live that Christian life. We're holiness. Holiness in Christianity is something that all churches will talk about. Every one of them will talk about holiness in some way, shape, or form. For us, it is an emphasis, and so we're going to emphasize it matters how you live and what Christ has done in our lives. It should not be without effect. It ought to change us dramatically, and it ought to make a difference in our lives. And so we emphasize holiness, right living, righteousness, and that it matters. So, for example, like not just that we get saved, that's the first step, but also that you continue on in that sanctification, let God mature you, and that ought to play into how we interact with our neighbors here, Like I know we have lots of people who have helped in other ministries around the town, like the Pregnancy Center or the Hope Center, food banks, those kind of things, that it matters, and we want to make sure that Christianity is taking root in our lives and working its way out. The last one, missional. We're going to continue to do missional projects in our city. We're going to reach out to those who don't know Christ. We are going to continue that missional thing, not just locally, but going out into other parts of the world as well. For example, we have a work and witness trip planned next year to go to Papua New Guinea, those kind of things. So those are some plans that we have: Christian, holiness, missional. Those are the big idea kind of things that we're going to keep in front of our people. Some other projects that we have, like for example, we have a playground that's used by our community heavily and by the ones in our neighborhood, the kids in our neighborhood. And so we're trying to get our playground updated. We have just some older equipment, and it's still good, but it needs to be better. And so we're trying to update our playground stuff so that the children in Woodward and in our community can have a safe place to play. It's fenced in, and it's a place where they can experience Christ while they're having fun. So those are some of the things. We're going to continue on in the ministries that God has given us here and reach out compassionately to those around us.